More on all this, let's bring in Kansas City Attorney General Chris Kobach. AG, thank you so much for being here. You know, you talk about the insanity of the idea of a sanctuary city. Nothing has brought it home like this. The sanctuary city policies were allowing child rapists, not just one, not just two, but a whole slew of child rapists who've come in illegally from all over to get away with what they're doing. Had they been kept at the border, their crimes may not have been committed.
That's exactly right. It's crime. It's violations of law by the government on multiple levels. The federal government didn't enforce the law when they were supposed to detain them at the border. And then the local governments are violating federal law when they have these sanctuary policies, which have been illegal, by the way, since 1996. So you have both the federal government failing to enforce the law and you have the local governments breaking federal law.
And by the way, we now have a new caravan. Remember those caravans? We have a new one coming up from southern Mexico, from Chiapas all the way down in the south of Mexico, coming up. There are no signs that the federal government is going to take more action. Will Texas be allowed to use its own restraint with this law still pending? Of course, the Supreme Court allowed them to stay the removal of that law, but will Texas be able to hold them back?
You know, the state of Kansas is supporting the state of Texas in this litigation, as are a number of other states. They absolutely have the right to do so. As Texas points out in their legal briefing, they probably wouldn't have joined the union if doing so meant that they could no longer control their own sovereign borders. So the states have that interest. And the reason these caravans are coming is because a message is being sent. The message is being sent that you are going to come walking right on through. The Biden administration will not stop you. They've ordered the Border Patrol to stand down in multiple ways. And what does change the behavior of these caravans is when you have the government sending a different message. So when President Trump first came in, he changed everything and said, we are enforcing the law, and these caravans, these massive flows stopped. If Texas is able to convey the message that, yeah, we will stop you from coming across our border, it probably won't stop the caravan, but it'll probably send that caravan to a different border like New Mexico or Arizona or California.
Now, you may not know it, but we still have this border czar who happens to double as a vice president of the United States. There was a time when people were throwing your name about as somebody to be a border czar back during the first Trump administration. If you were border czar, if you had, God knows what power she actually has, but if you had the power to deal with immigration and DHS and others would be under you, what would you do?
A number of things. First of all, reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy that was under the Trump administration. And by the way, that wasn't invented by the Trump administration. They were just the first administration to follow the law. It was invented by Congress in 1996. It said, the law says, if you come across over the land border from one of the two adjacent countries, Canada or Mexico, you must either be detained, right, that is to say, held in custody, or sent back to that neighboring country you just walked through. So first, reinstate that. Secondly, start rebuilding the wall. We have a lot more, over 1,000 miles of national border that still needs wall to be fortifying, and that's a huge force multiplier. And then third, take the handcuffs off ICE and Border Patrol. The president has issued a number of policies in 2021 that basically prevent them from doing their job. They're forbidden from deporting people unless these are individuals who have committed the most heinous crimes. And all the other illegal aliens who are also criminals, many of them, some are not, they are given a free pass and allowed to remain in the country. So those are three things I would do right away.
There you go. Bing, bing, bing. All right. It's very quickly because we're running out of time, but we want to switch to Biden's economy, particularly his continuing student loan bailout, despite the fact that the Supreme Court in that Nebraska case told them they couldn't do that. That's too much money. You have to go to Congress to get that kind of money, the tens of billions and leading into hundreds of billions of dollars for these bailouts. You now have a lawsuit that you filed. Explain it briefly for us.
Yes, Kansas and 10 other states filed a lawsuit in federal district court yesterday, basically saying, look, the Supreme Court ruled on this already. The same arguments applied to the first version of the Biden student loan bailout also apply to the second version of the student. That one was $430 billion. This one looks like it's going to be in excess of $200 billion. Only Congress has the authority to do this. And what the president is doing is extremely brazen. He's flying in the face of a Supreme Court ruling.
He's breaking the law. He's
No.
breaking the law. That's the way our legal system works. When the Supreme Court makes a decision, you got to stand by it. Otherwise, you're breaking the law. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but we got to leave it at that because we've run out of time. But thank you so much, and best of luck with that lawsuit. It's very important. Chris Kobach, appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Still.